Hello, welcome to this string keying video. I hope you're all doing well and everybody's safe in these difficult times. This is a video about this Gibson Goldtop guitar which my friend Jerome has brought to me. He was gifted this in someone's will. I'm going to see if I can date it. I really don't know how old it is, but it needs a real overhaul. There really isn't a lot left on these frets, so whether or not we can get any sort of crown on the top of these, I'm not too sure, but Jerome says he's happy about the way it plays in that regard, but there's certainly a lot of work to be done. This pickup isn't really producing much output, so I think there's something going on with the electrics. I'm going to have to open up the back and have a look at that. We're going to get some new knobs to put on. The rest of it is just really dirty, and I mean you can kind of see how played this has been. This is just completely worn away here. I really haven't seen anything like that. This guitar must be pretty old, but I'm just going to go and look that up and try and work out how old it is, and I'll tell you in a moment, and then we'll start to get to work on this. First thing I'm going to do is open up the control cavity and have a look inside, making sure I'm using the right size screwdriver. American guitars generally do use Phillips screws, but if you've got one that's from the Middle East, like an Epiphone or any of the number of other brands that are made over there, it's almost certainly not going to be a Phillips screwdriver, and that'll be one of the reasons why it can sometimes be quite difficult to adjust things like pickup heights if you haven't got the right screwdriver, which is what's called a Japanese industrial standard. It looks like a Phillips, but it isn't. JIS is what you need for those Far East guitars. So let's have a look at this. So, wow. Right, so it's been messed about with at some point during its life, which is probably going to explain why we're not getting the sounds that we should do out of this guitar. It looks like these are all the original parts. That looks like a very old capacitor. The pots look pretty old. I mean, it's impossible to tell really. I may replace those pots with new CTS pots, but I'm definitely going to have to give this a good thorough going over, and probably a rewire. But let's have a look and see what's happening when we plug it in to an amplifier. Plugged it in, and there's noise coming out of it, which is a good sign. But this jack is completely knackered. I don't know if you can hear that popping noise. It's horrible. So that's no good. And you can kind of tell this is not right. So I think the best plan is just to rewire this. Just take everything off, check if those pots actually work on meters, and rewire it. It's a pretty straightforward wiring job, 50s wiring. So let's get the soldering iron out. can't really work out if this bridge pickup is working or not. I had the when I looked at it with the control cavity opener, I took it off the pot and did a measurement, and I couldn't get a measurement. So what I'm actually going to do is take it out and measure it out of the guitar. So if I do that, I'll know there's no interference from anything else. There's no sort of unexpected grounding going on, and I should be able to work out if it's working or not. So this tone pot is completely gone, corroded, can't even turn it, so that's got to go. So I'm going to just go and grab a replacement pot and slap that in there. As you can see in here, what I've done is I've replaced the pots for the bridge pickup. That one, the tone pot, was just stuck, completely corroded solid, and this one, although it turned, I don't think it was working properly, and I think that that was where the issues with the signal were coming from. So I've put a new pot in there and just resoldered everything together again, and everything seems to be working now. So I'm going to just quickly go over the other solder points in here just to make sure there aren't any cold joints, and then we'll put this back together and start working on the stringed bit. Yeah, that's looking a bit better now, just much cleaner. There are all sorts of odd bits of electrical tape hanging around. All the connections are good, so hopefully when I put a string on this now, both those pickups are going to sound okay. Right, so I got to the point where everything was finished on this guitar and actually was playing really well, and this pickup works fine, but the other one had a really weak signal coming out of it. It was almost like a really low powered single coil, in fact not even as strong as that. So what I've done is I took the pickup out, I took the cover off the pickup, just cut through the solder there, and I don't know if it's really that visible here, but you can see on the top of these poles there's a lot of corrosion, this is not a waxed pickup, it's a T-top. Well, so's the other one as well, and you can see on the top you can see the T on the top there. So these pickups are very well regarded, and the one in the bridge neck position actually works great, sounds fantastic. But this one, I think, because it's not wax potted and probably at some point it's been in a damp environment, some damp's got inside the coils, and the coil wire itself is corroded inside and it's shorting, and that's why it doesn't work. So what we're going to do is I'm going to solder this back on here, give that back to the client. The client wants me to put P90 in the bridge position, and I think the Fat Cat, the Seymour Duncan's going to work, because that's going to be strong enough to complement the other pickup, which isn't extremely highly powered anyway. So that should fit in there. It's a shame we're losing the Gibson thing here, but that's just the way it is. And the next job I'm going to do is to try and get some crown on these frets. Now if you come a bit closer, I'll show you what's going on here. So there isn't a great deal of meat left on these frets, they're very low, but I can just about get a crown on them. It will leave a low, well, I mean, it won't make them any lower than they are now, because essentially what we're doing is just putting a point on the top, but it will mean that the guitar is a little bit more playable, it'll feel better, and we'll also get better intonation of each note on the fretboard. So I'm just going to tape up the rest of the fretboard and get down to crowning these frets, which is going to take quite a while because there's quite a lot of work to be done to get that point on each one. When I get to the top end, I'm also going to cover things up a bit so I don't scratch anything with a file. But you'll see that as we go along, which is going to be a bit speeded up. Okay, we've got the frets crowned now. Everything's been sorted out with these. So the process that I was going to show you before the battery in my camera ran out was that after I've done the recrowning, I then use some sandpapers and some abrasive rubbers to get this surface nice and smooth and shiny, and then I use a Dremel with a woolen buffing pad on it and some polishing compound, and that will get these nice and smooth. So they actually feel a lot better than they did, and it's going to be a bit more comfortable to play this now. Now the next thing I'm going to do is I still haven't got the P90, but I've got some new pickup rings because this one was broken, and I'm just going to put this one back in. So the work on this 1972 Gibson Deluxe Les Paul Goldtop is complete. So summary of what we've done is we've given it a really good clean up. I put some carnauba wax on top of that nitro, which is fine to do because basically this is an ancient guitar and it's completely gassed off. I wouldn't put carnauba on a guitar that was a couple of years old, but it's fine with nitro this age, and that looks fine. This is the original tailpiece. That's a new bridge, that's a Goldtop bridge. The one that was on there wasn't an original one anyway, but that's what would have been on there originally, or the style of what would have been on there originally. Either a Nashville, which is what that one is, or an ABR, but the Nashville is just easier to intonate, so that's what I've put on there. I think it looks good. New knobs, new pickup rings because this one was broken. This is a new pickup. Unfortunately, the original pickup in the bridge position had broken. It got corroded, so that had to go. So that's the new Fat Cat Seymour Duncan, which sounds amazing. So it's a P90 humbucker size. Really good pickup, sounds fantastic in this guitar. We put some new pots in for these two. They were gone. These two are the original pots. There's a new socket, fret leveled, and re-crowned. I mean, this was one of the fretless Wonder era guitars, so the frets were low anyway, and they are pretty low, but it plays great. I mean, it really does play well. There's a new nut on there, and we've put these old stock Charlotte tuners in there, which would have been pretty similar, if not identical, to what it would originally have had. It might have had Grovers on it originally, but it kind of depends on what was in the workshop at the time when they were putting the guitar together. But it's got the holes are in the right place for these, and the Charlotte, in my opinion, are better than the Grovers. They might have been nickel or chrome originally, but I happen to have this pair of gold ones lying around, and I think they look great on this guitar. So that's this job finished, and I have to say I'm really pleased with the way it's worked out. This has been one of my most enjoyable refurbs I've done, and it's a fantastic guitar, and I'm sure Jerome's going to absolutely love it when he gets it back. So thanks for tuning in, and hopefully I'll see you on the next video.